Just an ordinary lawyer. Rotunda Theatre, Buxton Fringe, Friday, July 19th, 2019. It's one small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind. 50 years ago exactly, this was the phrase that aptly described humankind's greatest technological achievement. With it came the hope of a better future for all people, although this was probably not shared by most in Africa, where in Nigeria, for example, a civil war was raging. In Congo, the population was still recovering from the shock of the murder of their great independence leader, Patrice Lumumba, and the excesses of the new president, Mobutu, were still not obvious to the outside world. Americans were still reeling from the murders of Martin Luther King and Bobby Kennedy, and their own president, Richard Nixon, was able to bask in the glory of the lunar achievement while setting the stage for his corrupt and malign terms in office. To almost all but the most ardent internationalist civil rights activists there, Africa remained a long way away. Several small and big technological steps have been achieved by humankind in the time since, but one can also point to many giant leaps backward in several areas of human activity. Africa has suffered more than her fair share of these regressions, thanks to continuing interference in her affairs by international interests and internal elites. But it is getting increasingly difficult to adopt the position that the continent is irrelevant to the rest of the world. The current Ebola crisis spreading out of the Democratic Republic of Congo, where several years of military conflict have been consistently ignored by the world's media, may once again prove this point, if what happened during the last crisis a few years ago is repeated, whereby the disease found its way into Europe and the US. Had the overthrow and murder of Lumumba 58 years ago not happened, things would undoubtedly be different there now, and the same can be said of practically every country on the continent. As the consequences of the continued exploitation of Africa become increasingly obvious, the retelling of these stories should serve both as a warning to us as we view our current crop of leaders, but also as a source of inspiration as we continue to seek solutions to our problems.